Hi, folks. Welcome to the Getting Your Edge podcast. My name is Dennis.
And hi, I'm Judy Gratton.
And we're here to help you right-size your home and your life. Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 9 of Getting Your Edge, How to Right-Size Your Home and Life podcast, brought to you by the fabulous Edge Group team, where we give you an edge in all your real estate needs. We have a very informative show for you again today. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dennis Day, and our other co-host is Judy Gratt. Judy, how was your trip to the beach?
It was absolutely fabulous. It was beautiful down there. Thank you. Today, we are going to be looking at Medicare from A to Z with Kevin Anderson of Anderson Senior Care in Long Beach, Washington. Thank you so much for joining us, Kevin.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Judy. And good morning, Dennis.
Welcome. Kevin is here to talk about something that's been a focal point of the national political discussion, both parties, Medicare. Before we get going on the interview, I want to remind you that this podcast is free to all, no subscription fees or advertising. I'm asking you to please send us your feedback through Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, follow, or give us a star rating on Spotify or another directory. Share the podcast link with someone who could use this information, and we appreciate your support.
So to tell you a little bit about Kevin, Kevin has been licensed for all forms of insurance since 1997. In addition to earning Who's Who recognition, Kevin was awarded $1 Million Roundtable status for life insurance with both Progressive and Transamerica in the same year. Several years ago, Kevin decided to focus all his energies on just Medicare products. Kevin is recognized with United Healthcare as a Gold Premier Agent in the top 5% of Medicare enrollments. So let's get started. Kevin, give us a little history about who you are and what you offer people with Medicare advising.
Well, sure. Both my wife and I do only Medicare. And 25 years ago, like you mentioned, I did all forms of insurance. I still have an insurance office in Longview, Washington. My name's on the door, but I'm never in there unless it's a Medicare appointment. Several years ago, I made the decision to just do Medicare. Medicare is such a complex beast. It's always evolving. Congress makes decisions all the time that change people's benefits. Companies themselves leave one area and go to another. Even just across town can cause you to lose your coverage. But the rules for Medicare are constantly changing. And we've seen that in the news, as Dennis mentioned in the intro, lately on a national level, with some people maybe trying to get Medicare, let it run out of funds. And so because of that complexity, I decided to just specialize in Medicare. And that's all I do.
Kevin, can those who are seeking to enroll in Medicare or change their plan call you and do the whole process over the phone?
Yes. There's rules we have to follow as far as scopes of appointment. We have to make sure that the only thing we're talking about on that phone call, and it is recorded for Medicare to check on, is Medicare. A lot of Medicare agents also sell other products. We don't do that. We have no commingling or trying to get our Medicare clients to sign up for other products. That's what a lot of agents do. But we can do it over the phone. We can do it over the computer. It's pretty nice. And so those are some of the benefits that came out of COVID, actually, that enabled us to do that now.
So, Kevin, this probably sounds really silly to you, but to start, how do people qualify for Medicare? That's
a great question. Typically, we all know that we get Medicare at age 65, and it's automatic. Some people continue working after 65. So they'll keep their Part A, they'll opt out of Part B to save that premium, use their employer plan. But it happens at 65. Now, there are cases where people qualify earlier, and not because of age, but because of their health. Perhaps they're on Social Security income or disabled in some way. I have clients in their teenage years. So there's two ways to get on Medicare. Age is the most predominant.
And don't you have to make application for Medicare prior to turning 65 or right at turning? Aren't there some ramifications if you don't?
Yes. It's automatic for about 75% of the folks. A and B will just show up. And again, they have to opt out of B if they wish. It just shows up and they get notification of that 90 days prior to reaching their 65th birthday. I tell everybody, and I did it myself last year, you can't do it 91 days ahead. I contacted Social Security exactly 90 days ahead, not 91, and they didn't have me in their record. And I hadn't moved. Typically, it's because people have moved in the last 5 years, but it is automatic. And the ramifications of not doing it are penalties and fees. And we can go into lots of details about that. But if you don't have a drug plan, for example, we had an 85-year-old several months ago, no drug plan, healthy as a horse, didn't believe in medications, was more the natural type. And now all of a sudden she has $10,000 worth of prescription medicines, and now she needs coverage. Well, she didn't have coverage for Part D for 20 years. So 1% a month penalty for times 20. And so she was paying 300% roughly above what everyone else had to pay in order to get it.
Well, you mentioned parts, and it seems that there are a few parts to Medicare, like Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D. What do they all mean?
What does the alphabet soup mean, right? All right. Well, in a nutshell, Part A covers your hospitalization, hospice, skilled nursing, things like that. You get Part A automatic, and it's free to you, provided you or your husband or spouse, I should say spouse in this day and age, have worked for at least 10 years, that you don't have to pay that $506 a month premium. Part A is free. Part B is pretty much everything else except for prescriptions. Unless the prescriptions are given to you in a hospital or a doctor's office, those prescriptions fall under Part B coverage. Part B is a flat 80% Medicare pays. You pay that 20%. Now, I've had clients in 1 year, 4 or 5 years ago, I had 2 clients that paid one of our local hospitals. One paid over $800,000 for a 3-month stay. The other one paid for a 4-month stay, $1.1 million. That's how much wasn't covered by A and B. So those gaps need to be taken care of.
And then what C and D are?
Okay. Congress is the one that puts up all these letters. And Part C is different than Plan C. Plan C is actually a supplement. Part C is when you have a third party, a third separate company that takes over Medicare billing. Everything they have to, if they're offering an Advantage plan, for example, they have to have all the benefits that you get in A and B. And then that company is allowed to keep 85% of that premium. So that $506 for Part A, the $164 for your Part B premium goes to that company. They're only allowed 15% to pay people like me and profit. 85% have to go in benefits. So they create these wonderful Advantage plans that include things that Medicare doesn't cover, like your glasses, like dentures, hearing aids, gym memberships. They include all kinds of stuff because they have to give back 85% in benefits. So Part C just means it's an Advantage plan. That's all that means.
And then Part D was prescriptions, you were saying?
Yeah, it's an accident that D and drugs are the same letter and word, but it is your medication coverage. Vast majority of Advantage plans come with prescriptions built in, although not required by Medicare. They have a full formulary and they do great jobs to get to that 85% return of value on benefits. But Part D is drugs. And that is only necessary if you have an Advantage plan that doesn't come with a drug plan, or you have a supplement or Medigap policy, which never comes with a drug. Every June, my wife and I decide on which plans we're going to represent for Oregon and Washington, which counties we'd spend the most time in, what plans would I get for myself if I lived in those counties. So I represent 28 plans in Oregon and Washington, not just with one company, in order to help people in their own counties. But you're jumping the gun, and they haven't decided all those things yet.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
There's a lot of Part Ds, Part Bs, etc. But the big one is the Advantage plans versus the Medigap policies. Can you kind of explain those?
Yes. I say all the time, there's no one shoe fits all. And I run into this all the time where people have taken advice from their brothers or sisters or their neighbors or someone else in the senior care. They have a plan and it's great for them. But the difference between Medicare Advantage plans and supplements work nationwide. They will work foreign. Maybe if we have time, we can go into that later. The benefits are defined by Congress. The plans are very specific, and it's Plan A, B, G, N, L, K, F, and C have gone to this. F and C are still available if you turn 65 prior to 3 years ago, but otherwise to new people, those two plans aren't available. So Medigap works really good for snowbirds, for people that live on cruise ships. They don't have a Advantage plan requires you to be in your county at least 6 months out of the year. That's your county of residence in order to qualify. Supplement doesn't matter. It's wherever you file your taxes. So there's quite a big difference between those two plans.
I guess so. So whether or not one is better for you than the other depends on your lifestyle. Is that correct?
Not so much. Well, yes, lifestyle would be about 50% of that equation. The other equation, we dial it down and we drill down. I ask questions like, how many times were you in the hospital last year? What kinds of things do you see happening next year? You might get a response, I'm going to have a hip replacement. I'm going to have a shoulder replacement, as we know someone did recently. We asked a bunch of questions. Right. And then we find which category of plan, like Dennis was saying, Medigap or supplement, those are the same thing, or an Advantage plan, which one will serve you the best. And then once we get the category, we can figure out within that category which of the 8 supplement plans would be best if you want to supplement, or which of the 25 Advantage plans that are available in your county by multiple carriers would be best for you.
This is why I think it's so important for people if they're thinking of downsizing, when we talk about right sizing, but moving out of their job, retiring, they need to look at all of this, and they really need someone like you to help them make that decision, because there's no way I could have ever, full disclosure, Kevin has made that decision for me. He came in and saved me from some bad decisions. So anyway, I find that is just, that's why we're doing the Medicare section, because it's really important for people to understand what they need to do to get this insurance.
You're correct. You're very correct.
Kevin, so can you change your plan each year?
Every one of us have the opportunity during open enrollment period to change our plans from October 15th through December 8th with an effective date of January 1st. That's called open enrollment. Medicare has dozens of enrollment periods. A window will open. Enrollment period means a window. Right now, there's a window open until March 31st for those that are on an Advantage plan. Maybe they just got on a new one and they figured out, boy, in January, February, this thing's not working. I need a different Advantage plan. So you're allowed to make a switch from one Advantage plan to another. But typically, open enrollment time is in the fall, and that's when all the TV ads come out. You have to have a window of available. You can't just decide one day, I'm going to change plans. It doesn't work that way. You know, when we retire, we're on fixed incomes. I don't know what percent. Huge percentages of us, our incomes become fixed. And some people can't afford $300 a month that a Medigap policy would cost. Well, there's wonderful Advantage plans available today that don't cost anything, zero premium. You're right, Judy, in saying that it's something that we need a professional to help us figure it out. We get online, there's tons of information. Some of it applies, some doesn't. You get in your mail a ton of information. Some of it applies to you, some doesn't. We get bombarded all the time.
Why do some of my friends, I think you answered that maybe, why some of my friends pay nothing. You know, my dad always warned me that there's no such thing as a free lunch. So how are they getting free and others are having to pay?
Yeah, we're talking specifically about Advantage plans. And that falls back to that 85% for your Part C Advantage plan. That company, whether it's Humana or Primera or United Healthcare, whoever that company is, has to pay those benefits back to you, and they can do so often because you pay nothing. So it is a free lunch to you, but not to the companies. That company is getting $506 for Part A, $164 for Part B, and they build those programs. So your daddy wasn't 100% correct saying there's never such thing as free lunch. Yes. There's some key ingredients in an Advantage plan, and those are the ones. And Medicare doesn't let us use the word free. We can't say free. We have to say zero premium. But there will be copays. Most of the time, in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a movement to doctor copays are zero for most Advantage plans. But you do, besides your copays and how that pertains to you, I especially look at surgeries coming up and physical therapy appointments. You don't want a specialist that might be on an Advantage plan, might be $45, might be $25. But if you have, following a major surgery, have 3 PT visits a week, that $45 times 3 for many, many weeks can be very expensive. So if you know that's coming up, then we need to find you a different plan just to take care of you next year, and then you can change again later.
So doctors, if you have, I know like a girlfriend of mine, I think she's on Kaiser. What is that? An Advantage plan? She's 75 years old. She's on Kaiser and she has to go to their doctors. She doesn't really have a family doctor or personal GP.
Right. Excellent question. And I get it all the time. A few years ago, up till 2 years ago, maybe 3, there was only one company in Washington that offered a PPO plan, a preferred provider organization. That was Premera, Regents Blue Cross, and their best plan was about $175 a month. Up till then, everyone had HMOs. So you have 2 options. We can talk about that later if you'd like. But to your question, Kaiser is an HMO. So Kaiser is a closed network. And this is something else that piggybacks on the question prior. The other important thing about Advantage Plan is your MOOP, M-O-O-P. What is your maximum out of pocket before the plan pays 100%? Now, in the case of Kaiser, they have plans as low as $3,000. Once you've paid that in your copays, it pays 100%, as long as you're in network. Mm-hmm. It doubles if you go out of network.
Oh.
Kaiser HMOs are closed systems. Kaiser, like group health back in the day, they wouldn't approve any kinds of services back in the day unless you were 1 foot in the grave and the other foot on a banana peel. Then they'd step in. HMOs have changed. They try to keep you healthy. They want preventative. All the preventative stuff is covered now. They want to catch things early. But Kaiser has 4,000 physicians in network in the state of Washington. You take a company, and I don't really want to spend time talking about specific companies. This is general knowledge. But there's a PPO company, the largest in the United States is United Healthcare. They have 34 million people in their Advantage plans. Well, in the state of Washington, not 4,000. They have over 90,000 physicians in network. In fact, it's pretty much all of them, except for Kaiser and veterans. Over 90 hospitals in the state of Washington are in that network. So Kaiser is wonderful. They're expensive. They're senior Advantage plans, and I'm no longer appointed with them. I was for many years. Their senior Advantage plans as low as $44 a month. And if you want dental and vision and stuff like that, you'll be paying over $150 a month. Well, you can get that same plan with other companies for $0 often.
Trying to go back to portability. Judy and I have kind of built our business around people who are right sizing or downsizing. They could be going to an RV. They could be going to a smaller condo or townhome. They could be moving to a sunny beach resort area. They could be moving abroad. Explain portability about if they change in mid-year.
It does.
Okay.
No, it makes sense, Dennis. What happens is, in the case of an Advantage plan, they're not going to be checking to make sure you're there 6 months in one day, right? But if you get an $800,000 hotel bill, you bet they're going to check. And so what they're going to do is you were not honest on your application, saying that you live in that county for 6 months. And in fact, you're traveling the world. They'll just refund your premiums and not pay the bills. So you want to be, it's a big risk. So you want to be truthful 100% of the time with Medicare companies. Now, as far as portability, traveling, things like that, I think is what you're getting at. Supplements are the easiest to describe. Every single supplement, whether it's NG, AB, whatever, LK, every single one of them carries the same foreign travel. It pays 80% of your foreign travel up to $50,000 with a $250 deductible. Now, Advantage plans, the PPO Advantage plans, many companies will allow you your plan to go with you anywhere in the world as long as you enter through the emergency room. So we just recently got back from a cruise to Mexico. If something had happened in Mexico, all I had to do is go to the emergency room and my plan would follow with me. So your whole plan follows with you. Now, a lot of these third world countries aren't going to do the billing for you. You're going to have to come up with the money or wait until you've submitted your bills to your insurance company for payment, and then you yourself would pay that. Now, I have one lady that spends 10 months a year cruising, and recently she's on an Advantage plan. She's fibbing, but recently on a cruise to Alaska, she was helicoptered to Anchorage, then later got stabilized, got helicoptered down to Vancouver, BC, and then the next day got helicoptered down to Virginia Mason in Seattle. So that's 3 air trips in an air ambulance. Well, those cost anywhere from $35,000 if you're just going, from Longview to Portland, up to $60,000 to $70,000 each. On her Advantage plan, she just paid a $250 deductible for each one. So it'll cover you when you're cruising, and maybe that was just a one-off. We've seen lots of people lately that had to save up their cruises. A member on my board recently was gone for 2 months because all his cruises got canceled because of COVID. So there's some flexibility, but you have to be careful. If you're living in Arizona 7 months out of the year, I wouldn't recommend trying to use your Advantage plan. If you're living down there 5 months a year, absolutely. In a PPO plan, most of those doctors you're going to find are in network, so you won't have to pay as much out of pocket.
Kevin, you brought up the airlifting or the transportation part of it, and I know you and I have discussed getting some kind of additional coverage for that in areas like Long Beach, where the hospital is very small.
Yeah, Airlift is a wonderful organization. Lifeline, I think it's the other one. And here on the peninsula, out in Pacific County, Long Beach Peninsula is what you're referring to. A lot of folks use that and utilize that. If you're on the Advantage plan you're on, will actually pay for that helicopter ride. So if something happens to you here and you're in the Waco emergency room and something with your heart, they can't handle it, other than taking fish hooks out of your thumb. That little hospital can't do much. They're going to fly you to Portland, and in your case, fly you up to Seattle to whatever hospital you like up there or have history with. And that's going to be somewhere around $80,000, $90,000 for that distance. On your plan, you'll have a $250 copay.
So especially people who are, like if they're RVing, if they really need to make sure they have something that covers that sort of thing. You could be, I don't know, in Yellowstone or somewhere even more remote. Yellowstone's not remote, but I'm not a camper, so I don't.
Well, PPOs and supplements you can go to, with most companies, all supplements, it's true. Anybody that accepts original Medicare consignment. So if you're in Yellowstone and go to the hospital, chances are they accept Medicare consignment, and your plan will go with you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, you mentioned earlier about the advertisements. So we get it the fall, usually TV commercials, mailers, eventually it's going to come to Instagram and others. There's Joe Namath, there's William Shatner, there's the dynamite guy, JJ Walker. Can we money back from a Social Security plan?
The most frequent question I get, and I do up to 80 Medicare meetings in the fall, all around different counties. That's the most common question. I give all my clients my cell phone number. They can reach me anytime on my cell phone, and that's the question I get. And that dynamite guy, like you talked about, JJ Walker, the thing is, those advertisements, you're going to see them disappearing and becoming less and less. Medicare is cracking down on them because what they're saying is true, but they're taking information that might be good in Brooklyn, New York, and not good in King County, Washington. So they're taking the best benefits that they can find from any policy, and then they always say, you may qualify. I called and gave them my zip code to see what benefits I should have coming. So money back on your Social Security. There are 3 companies that I'm aware of in the state of Washington that offer policies that don't have drug plans, and they're specifically geared to veterans. So they're telling you the truth. You could get your Part B $164. And by the way, our current administration brought that down. It was over $220 last year for those that have been on Medicare for a while. That's a big drop. And kudos to him for doing that. So if you're a veteran and you can get your prescriptions through VA, one of those plans, Advantage plans that don't include drugs, that's perfect for you. But they don't tell you that. And then what about the $180 to pay your utilities and your phone bill? That you'll see stuff like that. Well, that's very specific to people that have Medicare and Medicaid. They don't tell you that on the TV. And the other thing I tell people is so many people will answer the solicitations. I just turned 65 53 weeks ago, and I had a stack like a foot high of mailers trying to get me to look at their products. But when you call, then, and I have called on a recorded line, and I've turned people in to Medicare, 1-800-Medicare. If you want to make a complaint, folks, call 1-800-Medicare and give them the details. I gave him the guy's name, phone number, the time of day, and his agent number, because he was not forthright. He was going to sign me up for a plan without drugs without telling me that there's a penalty later. It was horrible. So don't trust the TV. The other thing that I would tell you is if you sign up for a program on the TV, guess who you have to call when you have a problem? You get to call the TV. So it's better to find an agent in your area or an agent like us that's remote, and we can do enrollments anywhere in Washington and Oregon. It's better to find an agent that gives you their cell number, not their office number, that's available for questions. And if they're honest and people of integrity, they will tell you there's a better plan for you, but I don't represent that plan. And I do that several times a year, especially with supplements. There's 25 D plans, drug plans in the state of Washington. That has to go with your supplement or Medigap, right? You have to have that on the side. I only represent 5 of those plans. In June of each year, my wife and I do all the podcasts. We take all the tests for these companies. 8 hours it takes to get appointed with a company and passing their test with a 90% in order to represent that company. On a drug plan, I make about $1.15. So I do that. That's my commission. I do that as a service to my people that have a supplement, and often we'll put in their list of 10 or 20. We've had people that pay $25,000 a year in medications. It's very likely I won't have the drug plan that's best for you. I don't insist you get one of my 5 plans. Instead, I pick the phone up. This is Kevin Anderson. I'm not appointed with your company. I'm with my client right now, and they need your coverage. Can you enroll them over the phone, please, for the drug plan? That's the way to go. That's what you need to find. Don't trust a flyer. The TV ads, those are just salesmen. They're appointed in many states. All they do is enrollments. You never get to talk to them again. And I believe you should be able to talk to the agent that enrolled you when you have problems and issues.
Absolutely. You were talking about veterans. So can a veteran or a TRICARE for Life person also have the Advantage plan? Do they want to have the Advantage plan?
And my answer is yes, 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 because veterans and the TRICARE for Life are veterans that achieved captain status or higher, and their spouses in that case get TRICARE for Life. And it's a fantastic medical coverage. I can't use superlatives like best, but it's great. And with Advantage plans, they'll work with those companies. And so you'll have double coverage. It's the only time Medicare allows that. It's not allowed any other time.
Wow.
So yes.
Very good.
That has to be done correctly. If your agent doesn't enroll you properly, you could get disenrolled automatically from TRICARE for Life. And I've had cases back in the day where I'm in a restaurant meeting with a couple, and they brought their brother and sister and husband and wives, and the other 2 wanted it as well. And I told them, no, you may lose your TRICARE for Life in this situation. I'm not going to enroll you. Well, we insist. As agents, if Medicare requires us to take that application. So I had them sign a waiver. My agent has advised me that I may lose my current coverage. It has to be done correctly in that case. Otherwise, you end up losing it and trust. The public employee benefits people, school teachers, PEB, we call it. The state of Washington have a lot of them. You leave that trust and what they're providing you, you can never get back in. You leave, you're done.
Wow.
So make sure you do it correctly and with somebody that understands what's going on.
Thank you.
Well, Kevin, how much do we pay you?
How much do you pay me? Do you know that Medicare actually, this is the only insurance product, real estate agents have the same requirement. If asked, we have to tell you. Now, I haven't sold an auto policy or home policy or life policy for 10 or 12 years, I would never tell you. But it doesn't cost you anything. An agent is paid by the Medicare company they write the policy in. An Advantage plan, it might be $20 a month that we get. On a supplement, it's probably somewhere around $13 a month that we get for commission. And I already told you on a drug plan, it's like around $1. So, but it's free to you. Our money comes out of that 85% after the 85% return on benefits that companies have to pay when they contract with Medicare to offer. So you're better off not sticking with original Medicare and getting something to augment it. And it's possible to get something that will augment it 100% or darn near.
So I often hear the term donut hole. What exactly is a donut hole in Medicare?
Donut hole. It isn't. And it's like you eat from the side of the donut and you fall in the hole in the middle. My mom every year while she was alive would fall in the donut hole at the end of May or the 1st of June every year.
Wow.
And us kids would pitch in until she got through the donut hole to catastrophic. It's not really called that. That's what we all call it. But it's actually called the coverage gap. And what that means is when you and the plan together have paid $4,600, I think the number is, of medications, your copays and what the company has paid, boom, you fall into the donut hole. While you're in the initial coverage stage, before that, you may have a deductible of a couple $100 or up to $400. You may not have a deductible for your generics. It may only be for your name brands. There's 5 tiers of drugs, tiers 1 through 5. The first 2 tiers are always generic. But anyway, you get the $4,600 into the donut hole, you fall. Now you don't get to go, if I have a tier 3 drug and on my plan, it's $37 copay or whatever plan you're on. You don't get to do that anymore. You have, while you're in the coverage gap, while you have fallen into the donut hole, you pay 25% of the cost of the medicines. Now, Congress is trying to get rid of that donut hole. It used to be you fell into it sooner. It used to be you paid 75% of name brands and 50% of generics. It changes every year. They're trying to get rid of it. So you fall in the hole at $4,660, and then you stay in the hole until you and the plan have paid $7,400. And now you leap to catastrophic coverage, it's called. It sounds bad, but it's actually really good because while you're in the catastrophic coverage, your copays will be free, could be $3. I think the maximum is $8, something like that, $8.40 if memory serves. The rest of the year, the calendar year, you're in catastrophic coverage, you're golden. But to get there, you and the plan have had to pay $7,400. That's the donut hole.
Wow. And you're paying 25% of the cost on those drugs during that period of time. I know I had a woman I worked with and her husband, I can't remember the disease he had, but when they got to the donut hole, it was pretty catastrophic for them.
Last week, I just got cholesterol medicine for the first time, $350 some. My copay was $5 on my plan. In the donut hole, that same thing would have been 25% of the $350.
Right.
So it's better than it used to be, 75% just a few years ago. It's better than it used to be. But Congress is working at getting rid of it.
I hope so.
A couple of things, terms, PPO and HMO. Which one is better?
All right. First, Dennis, Medicare does not let me use superlatives. I'm not allowed to say this is the best plan. This is the strongest plan. I can say this plan was worth a second look and maybe we should consider this and look at them side by side. But HMOs, they have mutated. They're great, solid plans now. And they work really well for folks that have, for example, a lot of HMOs will cover chiropractic, homeopathic, even acupuncture. where some PPOs won't be covering those things. So if you're happy with adequate coverage of physicians that are available to you in your area, like you referred to Kaiser earlier in this conversation, 4,000 physicians, that's going to take care of 95% of the folks. Now, if they get something unique and they want to go to the Mayo Clinic or the Anderson Cancer Clinic, or they want to go, there's a specific thyroid issue that only Florida fixes. And I've had 3 or 4 clients that have done that on a Kaiser plan. Instead of $5,000 maximum out of pocket, they had to pay $10,000. You had to go to Florida, live there a month, and get this thyroid thing taken care of. PPO will cover you in those situations. Your HMO may not, and it won't if you're in Washington. It won't cover you in another state. So my preference would be to have the PPO. I don't see myself ever doing acupuncture. And in chiropractic, I'm fine with paying a $20 copay. I don't need to have that cheaper because I don't go to chiropractors. So it's not one shoe fits all. We need to ask a bunch of questions and what's important to you. I can tell you that out of the last 100 people that I've enrolled in an Advantage plan, a Part C plan, not talking about supplements, all but 5 have chosen the PPO. When you look at them side by side, they've chosen the PPO, but 5 out of the 100 chose HMO, and it was better for them.
Wow. You mentioned that you're paid by the insurance company that the person goes with. If someone wants to just call you and not necessarily sign up at that moment in time, but get advice, what does that run? Is that expensive?
No, and I am getting pretty good at weeding through those that are just getting free advice. I'm always open, and I have an appointment on Wednesday, something similar. And one of my clients on Medicare has a mother, and I'm not talking about you, Dennis, same situation though. And I spent over an hour on the phone with them, and they're not clients. I get paid nothing for that. But as a service to my other clients, their kids that are my clients, I'm happy to do that. But you're better off having an agent. And I'll tell you something else. When I meet with people, I say, can I see all your Medicare cards? Not last year, the year prior, twice, people showed me an Advantage card and showed me a supplement card with, I'll name the company, it was with Cigna. They had gotten a phone call. They told them, hey, we're going to France, one of them. What do I need something to cover me? And they said, yeah, let's get you on a supplement. If you get on a supplement, Medicare does not cancel your Advantage plan. If you get on anything that has a drug plan involved, Medicare automatically will cancel your other Advantage plan. You can only have one at a time. Supplements will never pay a penny if you have an Advantage plan in place. So in this case, it was $170 some a month, both those cases in the same year, that they had been paying Cigna, one of them for 7 or 8 months. I helped the client write letters to Cigna. That in insurance terms, that's called unearned premium. You cannot have a premium for a product that you have no risk exposure to. That's illegal, and they must refund those funds. Both times, Cigna sent a letter stating that supplements won't pay with your Advantage plan, denied the refund. So what I did in both cases, this is 2 months apart, I filled out the 4-page complaint to our insurance commissioner in the state of Washington, had them sign it, and sent a brief second letter. You have 10 days to refund my money of this unearned premium that you illegally collected because of some sales guy that called on the phone, right? Or I'm going to be turning these documents over to our insurance commissioner. Within a week, they had the checks. In one case, it was over $1,200. In Jim's case out in Castle Rock, it was over $5,000 that he got credited back because he was paying that premium for that many years on something that would never cover him. That's an advantage to having A-plus agent on your side.
And that's why you don't want to just sign up on your own, because you can end up losing a whole.
Kevin, you've got your Medicare plan. You did a great job with this. And how about after you're signed on the dotted line? Are you supportive of after the sale?
We're one of the few agents that actually do provide support. Our job and our scope of appointment with these companies is to do enrollments. But like I said earlier, my wife and I both provide our cell phone numbers. We can handle things over the phone. And those are our personal numbers. I've been called when I'm fishing for salmon at the mouth of the Columbia River. I've been called. And I'll tell people, if I have to hang up on you, it's only because I got a fish and I have to deal with it, and I'll call you right back. It is important. I had a client several years ago now. He's actually now turned into a friend. that signed up on a dual plan. He had Medicare and Medicaid. He hadn't even gotten his card yet. It takes 10 days to get your card. His wife calls. They're on their way down at 1 or 2 in the morning, I can't remember, to our local hospital ER. He had had a heart attack. She was on the phone. The ambulance was taking him. And she said, Kevin, I don't know our coverages. We don't have a card. I don't know what I'm going to do. She's frantic. Her husband just had a heart attack. I got in the car, drove down to the ER. All this could have been handled the next day, right? It's billing issues, and we get involved with that. But in this case, I went down and with the wife gave the receptionist all the plan information, his member ID number, and he had to dual complete. He's going to get covered 100% in that ER. And I did it not because it was needed, but because she was so frantic worrying about their unlimited income. They're on Medicaid and Medicare. How are they going to pay this thing? And they don't even know that they have insurance. So, yeah, we go above and beyond, and we're always reachable by phone. Some conversations are 4 or 5 minutes, and people all the time have told me, I called that 800 number on the back of that card for that plan you enrolled me in, and I got Ecuador, and I got the Philippines, and I got the India, and I can't even understand them, and they're giving me the runaround. I've talked to sometimes 3 or 4 people in one phone call, and I don't know what's going on. So what's the question? And they'll give me the question. Sometimes in 2 minutes I've resolved it, sometimes 10 or 15 minutes. Occasionally, this is only going to get resolved by a conference call. And since I'm a Premier Gold agent, top 5% with one of these companies, and that's majority of the business that I do, when I call in, I get instant. I get the highest ranking. There's 4 tiers in that company of people. My wife is silver now, and I'm happy for that. So she may only have to wait 10 or 15 minutes to talk to someone. I get instant. Get on the phone, deal with it with the client right there, fix it, whatever the issue is. Sometimes it's as simple as I didn't get my card. I had one guy that didn't get his card 3 times. I had to do that call. But yeah, service after the call. If your company is paying me $20 a month for that enrollment, I think you deserve to have some extra help along the way. There's times prescriptions are a big one we get called. My wife and I probably get half a dozen calls a week, maybe a dozen, handling our base. But we're always available, unless I'm fishing.
And even then, sometimes.
And even then.
You mentioned the word Medicaid, and my son is disabled, and he's 30, and so he has Medicaid. What's the difference? You mentioned someone had both.
Medicaid is state, Medicare is federal.
Okay.
And Medicaid is financially based, and then there's also a health status quotient that enters in there. Typically, the maximum is $1,520 a month is typical number. To get full benefits through Medicaid, you need to be just around $800 a month, and then all kinds of stuff's available to you. Or you can be on a Medicare spend down. Maybe you make $2,000 a month, but as soon as you spent in that month, that's not accurate because they'll do it in 3-month or 6-month or 1-year increments. But if it's $500, once you've spent that then you get to be on Medicaid again. Now, the dual plans have something that's very important. The new dual plans that are available, they actually give you a card that you can go into a grocery store, and it pays up to $180, $155 in Pacific County, different, but it's like a credit card. It's your medical card, but you can go in and get fruits and vegetables. You can get fresh meats. You can get over-the-counter stuff like vitamins, cough drops, Aleve. And you can take it down and pay your cell phone. You can pay your PUD, $180 a month on your Medicare card, and it's all electronically loaded every month. I'm going to include a free giveaway about that for Medicare and Medicaid. And then I'm also going to include a generic list. Remember, I talked about supplements having names like N, G. Those are the 2 most popular, the supplements. But it'll be a side-by-side comparison, and you can see which of those letters fit you the best and which is going to cover you the best and which one does foreign travel. And so we'll include that at the end so they can just download those documents.
Thank you, Kevin. That's wonderful.
Kevin, hypothetically speaking, I will be 64 in June. Should I be doing something before I turn 65?
In June. So it doesn't matter your birthday. Your A and B will be effective June 1st. So in March, your open enrollment, initial and open enrollment is 3 months prior to your birthday month and 3 months after. So in April, give me a call and we'll figure out what's best for you. It'll become effective June 1st of your birthday month. But nothing you have to do now. Boy, I wish I was your age again.
Oh, stop.
Actually, I don't, because for 10 years I had no insurance. I couldn't afford Affordable Care Act. I was over $1,000 a month and $12,000 deductible, $18,000 before it paid a penny. So I went without insurance for 10 years. So I am thrilled to be on Medicare now.
Yeah, I bet you are. Well, Kevin, thank you.
You
Kevin
bet.
Anderson with Anderson Senior Care. If our listeners wanted to contact you, can you tell us how they can do that?
You can do it by email. It's super simple. Medicare Kev. My name is Kevin. MedicareKev@gmail.com. Or you can call me 360-355-6555. Lots of fives.
Thank you.
And happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much again, Kevin. That's it for episode 9 of the Edge Group Team's Getting Your Edge, How to Right Size Your Home and Life podcast. As always, we'll have a freebie packed with information from Kevin Anderson we'll post on our website. Thank you for doing that, Kevin.
Along with his contact information, it will also be posted there.
Yeah, we'll put your contact information in the description of the podcast and in the transcript. We have a special gift for any of our Edge Group team listeners. If you are the first person to give a 5-star review on the podcast at the Apple Podcasts, only place you can do a written review, we will email you a $25 gift card for taking a few minutes to review us. You can also send that review directly through our email at answers@edgegrouprealestateservices.com. We really want to give that gift card away. Please follow us, like us, share, comment on this or any of our previous podcasts. The Edge Group team says thank you for watching and or listening. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
For the convenience of our listeners, we've changed our drop day from Mondays to Wednesdays. Same great quality, same interesting podcast, just a different drop date. Thank you.
Before we...
That's it, folks. Thanks for listening. And stay tuned for future episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks. Goodbye.